If you want to know how the most dominant freestyle skier in history lands a trick that literally no woman has ever landed before, you don't actually look at her skis.
Right.
You look at how she tricks her own brain before she ever even leaves the ground.
Which is, I mean, it completely flips our normal understanding of athletic achievement.
Yeah.
Because we tend to focus entirely on the physical output.
Yeah, the muscle memory.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
speed, the raw talent. And we just ignore the invisible cognitive architecture that actually dictates all of those physical movements.
And the architecture we are exploring today belongs to Eileen Gu, or also known as Gu Ailing.
Yeah.
For those who somehow missed her taking over the entire winter sports world, she's the most decorated freestyle skier in Olympic history.
It's wild. 3 golds and 3 silvers, spanning from Beijing 2022 to Milano Cortina 2026.
Plus, recently becoming the inaugural Snow League world champion. But, we aren't here just to list her medals. We're here to reverse engineer her mind. Because she's 22 years old, an international fashion model making over $23 million a year, and a Stanford student studying quantum physics.
Which is just an impossible resume.
It really is. And to do this, we are synthesizing a really fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive.
Right, we get a deep psychological analysis from Marie Claire UK.
Mm-hmm.
We have performance breakdowns from Sport Bible and the Snow League. We got business insights from Northeastern Global News and some great background reporting from CSP Times.
And most crucially, I think, we are pulling heavily from this highly intimate personal essay that Eileen herself wrote for the New York Times, along with some transcripts from her viral press conferences.
Yeah, her own words are really the key here.
Exactly. So the mission for you listening today is simple. We want to extract the exact mental models, the brain training methods, and the raw psychology behind her elite performance, so you can apply that blueprint to your own life.
I love that.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we get into the literal rewiring of her brain, we really need to look at the architect who helped build her worldview, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have to talk about her mother, Eileen Gu.
Because that background reporting from CSP Times on her mother is, well, it reads like an overachiever's masterclass.
It really does. So she was raised in China by government engineers, went on to study chemistry and biochemistry at the elite Peking University, and then she immigrated to the U.S. in the 80s.
Right.
From there, she earns a master's in molecular biology at Auburn, does research at Rockefeller University, finishes with an MBA from Stanford, and then launches a career on Wall Street.
Wait, Wall Street. And while juggling a high-powered finance career, she also works as a part-time ski instructor in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, that's how she put Eileen on skis at age 8.
It's incredible.
And by age 9, Eileen is winning national titles. And she was raised largely as a single mother alongside Eileen's grandmother in San Francisco, which, by the way, is why Eileen made that huge 2019 decision to compete internationally for China.
Right, to inspire millions of young girls in her mother's birthplace. But, reading that resume, Stanford MBA, Wall Street single mother, raising a literal child prodigy, it is so easy to project this classic high-pressure tiger mom narrative onto that dynamic.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it sounds like a recipe for eventual burnout. Does the source material actually support that assumption, that she was pushed too hard?
Actually, the sources dismantle that assumption completely.
Really?
Yeah, Eileen consistently refers to her mom as her best friend, not a taskmaster. Eileen Gu didn't architect this high-anxiety environment of relentless pressure. She built a foundation of immense psychological safety.
Oh, wow.
She just understood how her daughter's intensely analytical mind worked and communicated with her on that exact level. So it was about nurturing ambition, not forcing it.
And that psychological safety is such a crucial variable because, when you aren't constantly worried about losing your parents' approval, you actually have the cognitive freedom to take the reins of your own mental development.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us right to that viral press conference transcript.
Yes, the one where a reporter asks her how she manages to answer these complex questions so comprehensively on the fly.
Right. And her response is incredibly telling. She says she spends a massive amount of time inside her own head, and she views her thought process as, quote, tinkering like a scientist.
Tinkering like a scientist. I love that.
It's the skeleton key to her entire philosophy.
Yeah.
Because what she's doing there is consciously weaponizing neuroplasticity.
And just to strip away the jargon for a second, neuroplasticity is simply the brain's biological ability to rewire itself, right, in response to thoughts, experiences, challenges.
Right. Every time you think a thought or practice a physical movement, you are strengthening a specific neural circuit. And Eileen is hypersensitive to this reality.
Yeah, in that same transcript, she points out that being 22 years old is actually a massive biological advantage because her young brain is in the state of peak adaptability.
She knows her brain is still literally molding itself.
Exactly. And she journals relentlessly to break down her thought processes. She operates under this mantra. I have it here. She says, "You can control what you think. You can control how you think. And therefore, you can control who you are."
And we see this echoed in the commentary from Ariana Huffington that's in our sources. Huffington observes that athletes of Gu's caliber, they don't rely on motivation to create routines.
Right, because motivation is fleeting.
Exactly. It comes and goes. Instead, they use behavioral science to completely bypass decision fatigue. By consciously repeating these tiny, deliberate choices every single day, they use neuroplasticity to hardwire those elite behaviors into their basal ganglia. It just makes them automatic.
I always visualize neuroplasticity like carving a brand new ski trail through fresh, deep snow.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. Like the very first time you ski it, it's slow, it's exhausting. You have to actively think about every single turn, every weight shift.
Yeah.
But the more you ski this exact same route, the snow packs down, a permanent groove forms, and eventually you just fly down the mountain with zero conscious effort. Eileen is intentionally carving the cognitive grooves she wants to rely on.
And that maps perfectly onto the concept of deliberate practice. If you view your mind as a laboratory and you are the scientist tinkering within it, a mistake on the mountain isn't this massive failure that implicates your self-worth.
Right.
It is simply a data point. It's just a miscalculation in the formula that needs adjusting.
But taking that scientific approach from the safety of a journal to the top of a frozen mountain, I mean, that is a massive leap.
Huge leap.
It's easy to be rational in a warm room. It's another thing entirely when gravity is trying to pull you into an icy wall. And the common cultural myth is that extreme sports athletes are just born without the fear gene.
Oh, the fearless adrenaline junkie myth.
Exactly. That they just throw themselves into the air and hope for the best.
But the New York Times personal essay she wrote shatters that myth entirely. Eileen doesn't lack fear. She is just an elite risk assessor.
Right. She mitigates physical danger through extreme repetition in environments where the physical consequences are completely removed.
Like the foam pits.
Exactly. She spends hundreds of hours launching into foam pits and onto airbags, which are essentially these giant inflatable slip and slides.
Yeah.
And this strips the risk of injury out of the learning phase, allowing her brain to focus entirely on the physics of the trick.
And the most fascinating part of that NYT essay is her breakdown of the visualization process required before attempting something totally groundbreaking, like the double cork 1440.
Right, which, for context, is 4 full rotations while flipping off axis twice.
Which is insane.
Yeah, no female skier had ever landed it before her.
And the way she describes rehearsing it in her mind is incredibly visceral. It's not just a passing thought, it is full sensory immersion.
She builds a complete psychological holodeck. It's not just visual. She incorporates her entire nervous system.
Yes. She writes about standing at the top of the ramp and feeling a literal tightening high in her chest. She closes her eyes and forces her brain to experience the trick before moving a single muscle. She feels her legs extending to generate maximum lift off the lip. She visualizes her upper body violently twisting to create the necessary torque.
The detail is wild.
She even maps the sound. She describes the wind rushing past her ears as a song, where every 360-degree rotation dictates the beat.
A song? That's so poetic but so calculated.
And she pictures her weight hitting the front of her boots upon landing. 1,440 degrees later, she smiles, and only then does she open her eyes. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
She notes that when she finally opens her eyes, the dread she felt moments before is entirely gone, replaced by pure excitement.
And that transformation from dread to excitement that is purely neurological. Yeah. By engaging in that hyper-detailed, multisensory visualization, she is literally firing the exact sequence of motor neurons required to execute the physical trick. The human brain actually struggles to differentiate between a vividly imagined, highly emotional event and an event that is actually happening in physical reality.
Oh, wow. So her brain thinks she already did it.
Exactly. By the time she physically drops into the half-pipe, her nervous system feels like it has already successfully survived the trick multiple times.
But, okay, visualization has limits, right?
Sure.
You can map the neural pathways perfectly, but when you are mid-air, the human element, specifically fear and pressure, still exists. In the sources, she refers to her relationship with fear as a tumultuous love affair.
I love that phrasing.
So how does she prevent that visualization from turning into catastrophizing when the physical danger becomes real?
She achieves that by systematically dissecting what fear actually is. She doesn't just slap the label panic on it.
Right.
She breaks the concept of fear down into 3 distinct, manageable sensations: excitement, uncertainty, and pressure.
Which is such a brilliant cognitive reframe because panic is a blunt instrument that just shuts down the brain. By fragmenting it, you can actually solve for the specific variables.
Precisely. And in extreme sports, blunt panic is lethal. Think about the biological counterintuitiveness of what she's doing. Launching yourself off a steep kicker goes against every human survival instinct.
Oh yeah, your danger instinct is screaming at you to stop.
Right. And if you let the uncertainty variable take over, your body might autonomously try to twist out of a rotation midair just to brace for impact, which destroys your trajectory and virtually guarantees a disaster.
So the extreme repetition into the airbags and the intense sensory visualization, those neutralize the uncertainty.
Yes.
And the excitement provides the adrenaline needed for explosive power. But what about that third variable, pressure?
Yeah, pressure is different.
Because pressure isn't physical. Gravity doesn't care about your sponsors. Pressure comes from the millions of people watching you, your family, the media.
This is where we see her leverage identity-based habits. The Marie Claire psychological analysis highlights how she copes with the subjective nature of external pressure. And she does it by aggressively bolstering her internal self-esteem and consciously minimizing her need for external validation.
I want to push back on that idea, though, because it feels like a bit of a paradox.
How so?
Well, if you are an elite competitor and you genuinely detach yourself from the need for external validation, or if you detach yourself from caring about the outcome entirely, don't you inherently lose the competitive edge that makes you elite? Like, how do you win 5 Olympic medals if you don't desperately need to win?
It is deeply counterintuitive, I agree. But detaching your self-worth from the outcome is exactly what creates the competitive edge. The psychologist Kamlin Kaur breaks this down in the Marie Claire piece.
Okay.
When your core identity is enmeshed with your performance, every single setback is an existential threat. If your brain believes losing this race means I am fundamentally inadequate, your nervous system triggers an intense anxiety spiral.
Right, because it's life or death to your ego.
Exactly. But if your identity is separate from the outcome, a mistake is just a mistake. Thinking this trick didn't go as hoped allows for immediate correction. Thinking I am a failure causes hesitation.
I see.
By not needing the gold medal to prove she has value as a human being, Eileen frees herself from performance-driven exhaustion. It allows her to take prepared, massive risks without that fatal split second of hesitation.
So building that mental armor allows her to survive the mountain, but she has to turn around and use that exact same armor against a much more complicated threat.
The media.
Global media and political pressure. And I want to be super clear to you listening, our goal right now is just to impartially report on the interactions documented in our sources to understand her psychological responses. We're not taking sides here.
Right, just analyzing the mindset.
Exactly. So the Sport Bible piece details criticism she received from U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. He publicly criticized her decision to represent China after benefiting from the U.S. education system and American freedoms, stating he roots for athletes who identify as Americans.
Right.
Now, that level of political hate would rattle almost anyone.
From a purely psychological standpoint, her response was an absolute masterclass in emotional regulation.
Yeah.
She didn't get defensive. She didn't counterattack, which would trigger a fight-or-flight response. Her public reply was simply, "I'm flattered. Thanks, JD. That's sweet."
Wow.
She then analytically noted that critics often lump China into a monolithic entity and suggested the criticism is loud, primarily just because she wins.
Maintaining that level of composure when a massive global narrative is being forced onto you requires intense cognitive reframing.
It does.
And we see her utilize that same tool with aggressive sports reporters.
No.
The sources highlight this moment where a reporter asks her if she saw the silver medals she won at the Olympics as 2 golds lost.
That is a classic loaded question. It is engineered entirely to provoke a defensive emotional reaction.
Oh, totally. And she completely refused to read the script the reporter handed her. Her cognitive reframe was masterful.
What did she say?
She stated that she is doing things in the sport that have quite literally never been done before. She pointed out the mathematical reality that winning 5 Olympic medals is exponentially harder than winning 1, and that viewing her achievements through the lens of 2 medals lost is just ridiculous. She simply rejected the premise.
It perfectly demonstrates her default operating state, which is prioritizing curiosity over judgment.
Yeah.
There was another interaction detailed in the sources where a reporter prefaced a question with, "This isn't supposed to be rude, but do you think before you speak?"
Which is undeniably rude.
It's totally designed to insult. But instead of letting that negativity dictate her internal state, Eileen physically leaned in, smiled, and thanked the reporter for the question.
That's crazy.
She chooses to create an inner narrative that serves her performance, maintaining that curiosity over judgment when someone is insulting you right to your face takes massive cognitive control.
And biologically, your brain can only sustain that kind of rigorous cognitive control if it is repairing itself properly. You cannot just positive think your way out of nervous system exhaustion.
No, you definitely can't.
Which leads directly to her most non-negotiable lifestyle habit. And this is one that feels almost impossible for most people. She rigorously prioritizes 10 hours of sleep a night.
10 hours.
10 hours, while balancing a full course load at Stanford, brand deals, and international competition.
The underlying neuroscience here, which was explained by Dr. Louise Goddard-Crawley, is foundational. Sleep is not just rest. It is an active biological process.
Right.
It's the period where memory consolidation happens, meaning everything she learned on the mountain or in the classroom actually settles into permanent neural pathways.
So she's literally locking in the neuroplasticity while she sleeps.
Exactly. Furthermore, REM sleep restores emotional balance and resets the amygdala. By fiercely protecting that 10-hour window, she is literally building the neurological buffer that protects her composure under all that media glare.
And that biological discipline translates directly into a massive business empire. The Northeastern Global News piece breaks down her financials, and she makes over $23 million a year.
Wow.
But the fascinating metric is that only about $100,000 of that actually comes from skiing. The rest is generated through brand endorsements and a massive social media footprint. During the Olympics alone, her Instagram following exploded from 2.1 to 4.1 million.
And Professor Amy Pei notes that this is a fundamental shift in the sports marketing landscape. In previous eras, athletic fame relied on this rare brand-controlled visibility, like, hoping to be selected for a cereal box or a TV commercial.
Right.
Today, it is about continuous athlete-controlled storytelling.
Because Eileen is constantly documenting her life, sharing her training, analyzing her setbacks, doing dorm room tours, she is creating a parasocial bond with her fans.
Yeah.
And for those unfamiliar, a parasocial bond is that one-sided intimacy where fans feel like they genuinely know and are friends with a public figure, even though they've never met. That bond makes her incredibly valuable to brands because she isn't just an athlete they sponsor. She's a trusted media channel they partner with.
So what does this all mean for you?
Right. You might not be launching off a half-pipe or managing international political headlines, but the sources we've unpacked provide incredibly practical, actionable lessons for literally any high-pressure environment, whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, or a creative.
Let's distill this into the steps the Marie Claire psychology analysis provides. Step 1 is mastering emotional regulation, because you can't think clearly if your nervous system is panicking. Eileen uses breath work, like that deep breath she takes right before the 1440, to stimulate the vagus nerve, which acts as a biological brake pedal, forcing the body out of the fight or flight state. You could apply that immediately before a tense meeting or a difficult conversation.
I love that. Step 2 is actively identifying and challenging unhelpful cognitive patterns. When a coworker, a boss, or even your own internal critic hands you a negative narrative, like viewing a solid performance as a failure to be perfect, similar to that 2 golds lost comment, you do not have to accept that premise. You can consciously reframe the data.
And step 3 is separating your core identity from your performance metrics. If a project you pitch fails or you miss out on a promotion, it simply means that specific strategy didn't work.
Exactly.
It does not mean you are inherently inadequate. Detaching those two things is what gives you the courage to try again without the burden of existential dread.
I think the most powerful takeaway from all of this, for me at least, is how Eileen measures her own success. She calls it her biggest flex of all time.
Oh, I love this quote.
She says her ultimate goal in life is to act in a way that her 8-year-old self would revere and be completely obsessed with.
That's so good.
Right. If little 8-year-old Eileen would look at the woman she is today and think she's awesome, that is the only validation she actually needs. Everything else is just noise.
It is an incredibly profound standard for success. When we look at the totality of these sources, the overarching theme is that Eileen Gu is not just a generational talent on skis. She is a dedicated scientist of her own mind.
Yes.
She harnesses the biology of neuroplasticity, she embraces the friction of deliberate practice, and she uses masterful cognitive reframing to dismantle fear. She hasn't just built an elite physical skill set, she has engineered an elite psychological foundation.
Because resilience is not a trait you were born with. It is a biological infrastructure that you build one thought at a time. We spend an enormous amount of energy worrying about what our future selves will achieve or what the world currently thinks of us. But if you adopted her framework today and viewed your own mind as a laboratory, what is one unhelpful thought pattern you could actively rewire right now to make your brain a genuinely nicer place to live? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.